Welcome back, fellow folklorists, to GRIMM, Digital Folklore, where we examine the stories and influences behind your favorite games. I'm sure by now that many of you, like GRIMM and I, are awaiting the upcoming holiday. You know how it goes, parties late into the night, an immortal old man judging who's been naughty and nice, and finally, the giant parasites in your bodies that report your misdeeds to him. What's that, GRIMM? You thought I was talking about Christmas? Don't be silly, I'm talking about Koshin, of course. You mean you've never heard of Koshin before? Well, get ready as I tell you all about this classic folk tradition and how this belief may have single-handedly corrupted all of Senpou Temple. By now, I'm sure that most of you are all familiar with Senpou Temple and everyone's favorite killer monks. However, I'm willing to bet that most of you weren't aware of the other religion that is practiced at Senpou called Koshin, and just how influential this belief really was. While it's not a very popular belief anymore, there are still a number of shrines dedicated to it, and many of the surviving shrines actually exist within Buddhist temples today, just like Senpou Temple. Our biggest evidence of it being practiced at Senpou is that an entire boss fight in the game is based around some of the most well-recognized figures of this practice. In this case, I'm referring to the folding screen monkeys. The folding screen monkeys are already a fairly unique boss fight in the game, but the basis for the monkeys is a key part of Koshin folklore. In-game, we understand that these different monkeys are being controlled by the spirits of the former divine children, which is why the divine child considers them friends since she is capable of communicating with them. However, in folklore, these monkeys are better known as the three wise monkeys. They are called that because each represents a different principle of see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, though in this case, they also include a lesser-known principle in the form of do no evil. Strangely enough, monkeys themselves aren't actually involved with the principles at all. Rather, the monkeys came about as a result of wordplay and became an easy way to remember the principles. This is because in Japanese, the principles are remembered as mizaru, kikazaru, iwazaru, and shizaru, with zaru being similar to saru, which means monkey. As a result, their imagery became a popular way to remember them. Over time, the saying and the relation to the monkeys survived, even as the popularity of Koshin itself began to wane. Though the question remains, why was the principle so important to the Koshin belief, and how does it relate to the rest of what is happening in Senpou Temple? Koshin itself was based upon Taoist beliefs that came to Japan sometime around the Heian period. At first, it was only popular among the aristocracy, but eventually the belief started to spread across Japan until it became a popular belief in its own right. One of the primary beliefs related to Koshin is that everyone is possessed by spirits known as the San Shi, or three corpses. The principles of behaving in a proper manner are related to this belief since it was believed that on a certain night of every 60-day cycle, the San Shi would leave one's body to report that person's misdeeds to the Tente, or heavenly god, who would punish the misdeeds by removing lifespan or even sentencing the individual to death. As a result, the Koshin Machi, the night in which the San Shi reported to Tente, became a holiday where friends would gather together and party through the night because the San Shi couldn't leave and report their misdeeds if they didn't fall asleep. This makes Koshin a practice that believed that one shouldn't engage in evil acts, but also one that believed as long as the Tente never learned of such acts, that they couldn't be punished for them. See not, hear not, say not, do not. However, while the wise monkeys are proof of Koshin being practiced at Senpou, it was actually the San Shi who proved the most harmful to Senpou overall. You see, while the San Shi was a common name for the spirits, they were also known by the name of Sanchong, the three worms, which portrayed them as actual parasites that would infest their host. Suddenly, we begin to be able to see why the monks of Senpou Temple aren't horrified to find that they have become host to giant insects, or worms in the words of Senpou's own founder. Now in Koshin, the belief is generally that the three worms actively seek the death of their host body. But perhaps these monks, who seem to have a much better control over their centipedes than either the guardian ape or Hanbei, believe that by gaining control over them, they could prevent their misdeeds from being reported, which allowed them to become immortal. Or perhaps, they never stopped viewing the worms as harmful, and continued searching for a way to purge themselves of them in the first place. Pretty much all of the monks that we see in Senpou Temple that are infested seem to be in the middle of practicing something known as Sokushinbutsu. Sokushinbutsu is not a Koshin practice, but rather a Buddhist practice in which a monk would willfully mummify themselves. The practice is not limited to Japan, but it is where it seems to have been practiced the most. The process itself involves extreme fasting, and in some cases ingesting poisonous brews to ensure their bodies would be preserved after their death. The practice itself was not incredibly common, but it seems that there are a number of monks in Senpou Temple attempting it. Moreover, the only monks who seem to be practicing it are the monks who have become infested. Surprisingly, this may actually also be linked to their belief in Koshin. The 3 corpses, or worms, are actually extended from Taoist beliefs. Just like in Koshin, the Taoist belief was that the San Shi sought to cause the death of their hosts whenever possible. Unlike in Koshin though, Taoists believed that if they could purge themselves of the worms, they could attain immortality. With this, everything comes full circle. The monks of Senpou Temple who became infested are practicing Sokushinbutsu as a means to expunge the parasites infesting them. This is why we can find the founder of Senpou Temple inside a cave full of other mummified priests, none of whom are still infested anymore. Whether this practice really achieved the results they intended though, I can't say for sure. Perhaps the immortality they sought was spiritual in nature, since at least the founders seemed to view undying as something separate from enlightenment. Maybe there was a difference in opinion between the infested monks, which is why some of them didn't finish the mummification process. I can't say for sure one way or the other. All I can say with certainty is that the Koushin belief clearly ran deep in Senpou Temple, and that this belief must have provided the explanation they were looking for when they were trying to understand why they had been blessed by the worm in the first place. In all likelihood, we probably also know the source of Senpou Temple's infestation, but that's a video for another day. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video about the Japanese folk belief of Koshin and the effect it may have had on Senpou Temple. For those interested in learning more about Koshin, there are a number of Koshin shrines that still exist within Japan, including one at Shitanoji, one of the oldest Buddhist temples in Japan. If you would like to hear more about the folklore behind some of your favorite video games, please make sure to like and subscribe or follow me on Twitter to stay up to date with my latest videos. GRIMM and I would also like to take this chance to congratulate the From Software team on Sekiro winning Game of the Year and to wish everyone a happy holiday, and we will see you all next time. Until then, fellow folklorists.